Hey guys, what's up? Lone Berserker here, and this is a commentary 1 versus 1 that I literally just played like 0.30 seconds ago. I am playing as Swaby and going up against a very interesting Pontic build, but my Swaby army is just as interesting, if not more interesting. So I've been experimenting. I want to make a more upfront Swaby build that can at least somewhat withstand Hellenic factions. I found in the past, although this is a complete failure by the way, I found in the past that fighting against Hellenic factions as not the barbarian factions, but specifically Swaby, is extremely difficult simply because the majority of their units are light and medium. They actually only have one heavy sword unit, and I don't really like them. Um, so for my army, I have two Noble Riders, two Wodenaz Spears, two Swordmasters, mirroring on each flank, four Bloodsworn, four Slingers, two Spear Levy, and a Spear Brother, and three Germanic Scout Riders. Now, I was thinking about bringing Ariovistus, but against the Hellenic faction, I found it's very useless. In my opinion, Ariovistus should be used specifically against, like, non-Hellenic factions, which isn't really that easy since almost everyone plays a Hellenic faction in this game. I'm pretty sure literally everyone has and does. So my opponent actually kind of has a good counter against me here. He's got three Scythians, four Thraeospears, two on each flank, two Noble Blood, one on, I think, Noble Blood, yeah, one on each flank, four Slingers, four Pontic Swords, two Pikes, and a Scythe Chariot. So, sorry if I sound a little bit drowsy. I'm getting sick basically, so that's awesome. So my plan for this was obviously to avoid that chariot, because Swaby will get absolutely flippin' mauled if they have to deal with the chariot. Um, and my plan was just sort of to engage him as quickly as I possibly could, because you know I really need to. Although I have a skirmish advantage, Germanic Slingers basically don't die to other Slingers. Unless they're like Rhodian, but shooting Germanic Slingers with a valuable unit like Rhodian is completely useless. Or a waste, I mean. Not useless, but... Germanic Slingers don't do a lot of damage, but honestly, they just don't die. They're literally shirtless guys, freaking carrying little shields and a Shepherd Sling. I don't know if they, like, took an extra package of drugs before they entered this battlefield, but honestly, these guys literally never die. So, up front, obviously, you can see I'm just trying to engage him. I felt very confident if I can get to grips with this guy, but I knew I had to be careful because those two pikemen combined with those Pontic Swords, although I will kill, like with one charge with the Bloodsworn, it will kill like half the unit. After a while, Pontic Swords do come out of that on top, so I knew that was going to be a problem, but I had a pretty good idea on how I wanted to deal with them. And the pikemen, I just planned to shoot to death while his slingers did whatever they want, because I wasn't that afraid of Eastern slingers. So I'm immediately coming up here, and I wanted to immediately take this entire flank and just go bowling this way. But for some reason, in the following few seconds here, I literally have a massive brain fart and don't move my army. I'm literally not kidding, by the way. I just completely froze and forgot what I was doing, which could have been disastrous if my opponent had charged me. Thank God he didn't. So essentially what I was trying to do here is I had my units in groupings, and so I was selecting this side of my army from like this Bloodsworn over here, and I was trying to unselect the Slingers by clicking Control and clicking their unit card, but I kept freaking missing, and so I kept reselecting, unselecting, and then I ended up selecting units over here, and it was just a complete mess. And I don't move. Like, I was trying to go this way and quickly attack, and so finally he starts moving up on me here and here. I say screw it, I'm just gonna rearrange this flank, and then I'm gonna select right here and just move these guys forward. And you can see I start doing that. So that could have been disastrous. And also, by the way, I got a nasty flippin' javelin volley on this no blood cap. That was so terrible for him. I don't know what he's trying to do there, honestly. I think he was trying to distract me, but honestly, I think he got distracted himself. So yeah, you can see I'm finally moving here, which I should have been a while ago. And I'm perfectly fine at this engagement. My Swordmasters and Wodenaz Spears will tear through these Thraeospears, and he knows that, but he seems to be perfectly fine with taking this engagement. which really confused me because, you know, why would you? Also, I get a javelin volley on these guys right here, and I can kill a bunch of slingers. That was pretty good. So, I guess the reason he took this is because he kind of had no choice. He's also pushing with his flank, so he's kind of got me. Oh, we're kind of pushing on each other's flanks here. Now, in the center, this is a foolish move right here because he's fighting my Spear Brothers. He'll destroy them, but he's allowing me to get my Bloodsworn in unmolested, and that is a problem because then I will seriously destroy those Pontic Swordsmen, except for here. He does get a fight on me, which I don't want, but I kind of have to take. At the same time, I get a Javelin Volley on that Noble Blood. He got his Chariot behind me. I kept a Wodenaz Spear and a Noble Rider just in case for that. I'm going to slow it down. I get caught here. It was just too much micro, but I do get the Noble Blood, and I will end up taking that down pretty easily. And you can see I'm tearing apart these Therios Spears. Wodenaz Spears and Sword Masters will just rip them apart very quickly. And it's not even a fair fight. This Bloodsworn will actually come out on top of this engagement because I charged him first with the Spear Brother. Over here, I'm double teaming him, which, again, look at that. He's just getting torn apart. He is shooting me, though, which is pretty smart because Bloodsworn will die to freaking, if you fart on him, they'll just pass away. So I got a Swordmaster here, taking on 2 Therios Spears. Now, this is a mistake. All this guy had to do was take out one of these, turn him this way, and shoot me in the flank. That Swordmaster would have been dead here. Although he is taking advantage of my lack of units, well, lack of commitment, because I am keeping this Wodenaz Spear, specifically watching that side's Chariot, which is now moving my way. I got into the back of his Slingers. I do get my Germanic Scouts out, and I'm going to go for those Horse Archers, which he was actually destroying my front line, my guys here. With them, I did get a Spear Levy around, which is going to help finish off those units. I still got these 2 free units, but I have no freaking clue on what to do with them. I should have sent him around and outflanked that Pontic Sword, but he was breaking through my center, and I got scared, honestly. So I had to take a fight here I didn't want, but I charged my Noble Riders into Pontic Swordsmen and Noble Blood Cav, and I have literally nothing to back them up, so they're fighting there alone. Now, I am moving this Wodenaz Spear to basically brace for this Scythe Chariot, which I was genuinely surprised he didn't just smash through my Swordmasters and pin me down with that Noble Blood. That's what I would have done. So I pop Cavalry Counter Tactics, and I run in here, and I guess you can imagine what's going to happen to the Scythe Chariot. The entire unit basically just passes away. So my opponent misused his greatest tool here, and I can understand what he was trying to do, and I think he was just trying to get past my Wodenaz Spear and run past him. That's possible, but it's extremely risky and unlikely you're going to achieve that, and then he forgets to micro it, so that unit is basically off the field. At this point, he didn't commit his pikemen, but I was able to pin them down with crappy units, except for, well, yeah, I'm just using a damaged Bloodsword at that point. I just left him in that fight. I am shooting him, by the way, which is pointless. I thought he was going to get through, but he didn't. So that Scythe Chariot is dead, so that is a huge weight lifted off my back, I guess you could say. His Therios Spears at this point break, and then I'm coming on to his last remaining Pontic Swordsmen, which are desperately trying to get into this fight, but it's basically over at this point. The Bloodsword here are just going to pin those swordsmen down and keep them in place. And that's basically the end of this man's whole career. So yeah, those Chariots, the problem with relying on Chariots is they're the freaking worst unit you could rely on. I'd rather have an Elephant, frankly, but they're just so unreliable because one Javelin Volley can kill him, which is so ridiculous. But I mean, it kind of makes sense because historically they weren't that effective either. The only way you're going to get effectively use them is you got to wait till late game, which with a Pontic build like this, you're not going to last long in a fight against any faction. It's extremely risky, and you kind of got to run from your opponent, which isn't easy if your opponent is just going to chase you with superior cavalry. So my opponent is holding out here with some units, but at this point they're mostly surrounded and just quickly dying. I am shooting him in the flank here. His general's going to die soon, and I caught his slingers up here with my Scout Riders, which were doing an excellent job, by the way. So that Noble Blood finally breaks, and Noble Riders are just going to cream any Pontic Cavalry. Although the Cappadocians could hold, they'll eventually lose unless you get some support in with them, which isn't impossible. So he definitely did make mistakes, but I get why he lost in the end, and it was this right here. Even if he swung in and hit my Noble Sword, I would have just surrounded him with this Wodenaz Spear. The best thing he could have honestly done, which would have been really stupid and pointless, was either run all the way around this way or leave them back here somewhere and then eventually come through the center. But again, that's kind of difficult to do when I have a lot of really good spears in my army. That Wodenaz spear actually got 2 experience from killing that sub-cavalry and that chariot. So this is basically his last full unit here, and the rest are just going to start breaking off the field. So yeah, my opponent had a very risky build. I think he could have won with it if he had a bit more patience. I think, honestly, when you're going up against Swaby in this position, a chariot can be useful, but I would much rather have pikemen. I think pikemen and extremely heavy shot cavalry is just going to cream Swaby. If this guy had brought Pontic Royal Cavalry and backed it up with the Scythians and a long pike line, I would have struggled to win this. You can see, though, in my army, what units definitely carried the day here, and that was the Wodenaz Swordmasters and Bloodsword. Although the cavalry ended up doing extremely well, even the Spear Levy, actually, at 45 kills is not bad at all. Although I think most of those were on slingers, but actually, that's a valuable target when it comes down to it. So the Noble Riders did very well. Although they didn't really do a lot of fighting, honestly. They just kind of came in when it came to blocking his cab. And in this case, that's all they're for. You gotta let the Germanic Scout Riders do their job. And even though he had superior firepower in terms of the Scythians, I was able to get around his flank and catch him off guard. Which, if I'm pretty sure if almost any Javelin Cavalry get into a fight with like Scythian, any horse archer is usually gonna lose. So I think pikes, when it comes to dealing with Swaby, is the way to go. Now, obviously there was the question of fast charge and why I didn't bring it. And like that's the wrong thing. And like I was saying before, fast charge with this army could work if you're going up against a barbarian, or let's say like, frig, I don't even know. The thing is when it comes to Hellenic factions, you know almost 90% of them are gonna bring pikemen. Like, I'd bring fast charge against Rome, or Kush. But even then, Kush has pikes, so it's like, what the heck is the point? Almost any Eastern or Barbarian or Hellenic faction you're gonna find is gonna bring pikemen. That's just that when it comes down to it, and fast charge or Ariovistus just fails you then. Although I could see it being used strategically, like at a very strategic point in the battle when you need certain units, like a very small group of units to get fast charged, then it could be useful. I understand that. But in that battle, it was useless. In fact, I didn't even get to use my ability because I freaking forgot about it, which doesn't surprise me at all. When it comes to this build, I definitely want to experiment with it more. I do like it, but I think it has a lot of drawbacks to it. More specifically, the Bloodsworn. They just freaking melt on impact, and that's the problem with Swaby. I don't want to rely on Swordmasters. I hate the unit. I just don't like elite units. I'd much rather use cheaper, fast ones. And, you know, I've always been like that, honestly. But the thing is, if you go with... You got a choice here, I guess. Bloodsworn and Round Shield Swordsman. No one freaking uses Round Shield Swordsman. They suck. Their charge bonus is 24. Bloodsword is 33. They have less melee defense and 20 more armor and less morale. I mean, come on, man. They're more expensive for a worse unit. I mean, they got more melee attack, but they got less weapon damage, and they have no bonus versus infantry, so... This unit is just a mediocre sword unit that can't do crap, other than fight lesser mediocre swordsmen. I've used them in combination with spearmen, and they just don't do it. They don't have the bonus versus infantry. They don't have the charge bonus, which really does matter, by the way. I mean, and Berserkers suck nowadays because they don't have spaghetti lines, so their charge is almost useless unless you can get them into the rear or something, but most people just shoot them. And then there's Hex Bears, which go ahead and try, but you'd have better luck seducing the enemy. So, you really gotta rely on the spear infantry of Swaby, and that is a very bad drawback. Although I love Wodenau spears, they're my favorite freaking unit. I even come to the agreement that they will lose to Oathsworn and probably Chosen Swordsmen, honestly, or Fierce Swords. That's really why you gotta combine them with the Bloodsworn, and honestly, you do need the Swordmasters to carry your army, but like I said, I don't like them, but you know, sometimes you gotta suck it up and just do things you don't like. So I honestly brought the Spear Brother only because I had extra funds left. You don't even need it. The only reason I like it though is because it's got cavalry counter tactics, so you don't have to worry about bringing 3 Wodenaws for one simple ability. And then the Slingers are quite self-explanatory. They're the only good skirmish unit they have. Well, Horse Runners aren't bad, but like, I don't really like Javelin units that much unless they're like used within a pipeline or something. And then the Cavalry, that's self-explanatory too. The whole point is Swaby Cavalry is not meant to be used offensively in this situation. It's supposed to be defensively. Well, at least the Noble Riders. The Germanic Scout Riders, however, they are supposed to be used offensively, unless your opponent has long-range missile cavalry. Then you can kind of just screw that, run away. So, I think my opponent had the right idea. If he got the Chariot charge off, I would have been screwed. But I was waiting for it. I had the reserve Wodenau Spear, which I knew was more than capable of taking them out. So, that is all, honestly. Thank you for watching this video, and I will see you next time. Goodbye.